to my channel. So today's gonna be a different kind of video. It's gonna be like when I made my YouTube, I was planning on posting like once or twice a week, and I haven't posted in 5 months. So I was gonna let you guys know where I've been, what's been going on. I'm going to be explaining my whole story of what's happened to me in depth, so whoever like thinks this is happening to them or maybe happened to them, then they can hear my story, and also to spread awareness. And also, like, because some of my family and friends have been wanting to know my story, so I was going to have like a video that they could watch to really explain my story of like everything that's happened and like that went on. So I'm going to start from the beginning, go through the whole thing. I guess just be aware that there's going to be some images popping up throughout the video. They're not even that bad. Like, they're like going to be of like hives and IVs. I mean, I know that some people don't like to see IVs. I mean, I personally don't, but just a heads up, please share for awareness. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I'm on my phone looking at everything, just so you know like what I'm looking at, I guess. But so today's July 13th, and this all started January 31st-ish. 30th or 31st. So I remember I woke up and I felt sick. My head was pounding, I was dizzy, my throat hurt. So I stayed home from school, and then I think the next day I was still the same, so I went to the doctor. They tested me for strep and the flu, said I didn't have any of that, so it must have just been a virus. So I was planning on getting the vaccine, the HPV vaccine, because I was wanting to get it already for a while, and I was like, we're already here, might as well just get it. I asked my doctor, he said that he thinks everyone should get it. His wife got it. He was like, yeah, you should totally get it. So I got the HPV vaccine. This was on February 1st. I think within 24 hours, one of my toes started itching. I mean, it's the craziest thing ever, but it just started itching and was getting red, and it was like, I don't know, I was like, am I having like athlete's foot or something? Athlete's foot, oh my god. So this was all, I'm looking, yeah, I remember taking photos of it on the 3rd of February. And then I was still sick too. I wasn't improving at all, and I actually ended up having to miss that whole week of school, which was stressful for sure. So I was planning on like resting that weekend, then going back to school the next week. But then I remember on that Saturday I woke up, which was the 4th, and like the whole like side of my neck was like swollen. Like you could see it, like it was like a bump, and then also like the inside of my throat was killing me. My head was pounding, I was dizzy, I mean it hurt to talk. And then my toe also was itching, I don't know why, but so there was no progress. On Sunday, I remember I was taking a shower, and then I noticed that I started getting these red dots on my feet, knees, and hips. And I was like, what is this? Like, maybe I thought it was from like the hot water or something. I was like, what are these dots for? So I got out of the shower and they weren't going away, so then I called my mom because she was at home. I let her know, and she was like, you know, when I come home I'll look at them, yada yada yada. So a few hours later she was home, and when I looked at them again, like they were spreading, like my feet had more dots on them, like they were redder, they were just spreading, and I'm like, oh no. You know, my throat was killing me like so bad, like it looked swollen. So I mean, it was Sunday night, and so we went to the ER, and then they tested my blood, they gave me IV fluids, and they actually had a fever of like 102, I think. I didn't even know I had a fever. They for sure thought I had mono, but then it came back negative, which was kind of a shock. So they said that I had a virus like imitating mono, and that I should like be fine eventually, like it'll run its course. So I mean, that was like midnight. He said not to go back to school till my sore throat and fever were gone. So I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be missing more school, and I was really behind already. So then I went home, and then they also wanted me to see my doctor the next day. So on that Monday, I saw my doctor. By then, my normal doctor. By then, the hives were spreading to my hands, my arms, and they started getting itchy, which I was scared about because, like, that sucks, like, being itchy everywhere. So, he had me take Benadryl, and, because that's supposed to help with the itching, and that was about it. I mean, and then I went home, and I remember that night I woke up at like 3 in the morning. The hives were completely everywhere. It was itching everywhere. I couldn't stop, so I couldn't sleep at all. My throat was so bad, like I felt so sick. So we ended up going to Walmart and getting more medicine and like itching cream or something. I don't even know. I mean, I was up like every 2 hours that entire night. So I woke up at like 8 the next morning. I woke up my mom, and she took one look at me and was like, I'm taking you back to the ER, like this isn't normal. Like I couldn't talk because of how bad my throat hurt. Like it was still, I mean, it was still swollen, and the hives were everywhere. My lips were getting swollen, my nose was getting swollen because the hives like spread up, and then they were all everywhere, like my ears. It was crazy. So we went to the ER. They asked me on a scale of 1 to 10 how bad my pain was, and I was actually bawling my eyes out because of how bad the pain was getting. So I mean, that was like the only time I think I said a 10 in my whole experience of being sick. But they gave me IV fluids, they gave me a ton of medicine. I started feeling a little better, but the hives were everywhere. I was itchy, I was nauseous, my head hurt, like so much was happening. Like my whole body was aching so bad, like I felt so sick. And they were like, you know, we're gonna admit you because you're too sick, like we want to watch you. So that was actually my first time having to stay the night in a hospital just in general. So I stayed the night. They had me on IV fluids for the whole time until I got released, which was the next night. So I stayed there for almost 2 days. They were giving me steroids, which was helping with the inflammation and everything, so that I started feeling a little better by the time I got sent home. They also tested me for mono again. They tested me for a lot of stuff, and then the mono was still negative. So again, they were saying it was just a virus, or they thought I had mono, but it was really negative. Like, it was a false negative, sorry. So anyways, I got to go home. I was on a ton of different medication for a bit, like steroids and all that stuff. I think I went back to school like the next week. I tried a few days. I had to do half days because I just felt so sick. Like after a few hours, I was dizzy. I was so weak. I looked pale. I mean, I got all my makeup work, but I could barely go back to school, which it started getting scary because I already missed like 2 full weeks, I think, by then. I think I had another ER visit. I think it's because all my medicine was making me really sick, like nauseous and stuff. And then I went back to the doctor like maybe 3 weeks later because my throat was still so bad. And I mean, I just wasn't getting better. And then this was actually really scary because they tested me like for flu and strep and everything again, just to make sure I didn't catch anything else. And he was like, your throat's been swollen for like a month now, and this isn't normal. I'm going to refer you to go see an ENT doctor, which is an ear, nose, throat doctor, because he was saying that I could have cancer. And I mean, that was very scary because I've never had a doctor tell me before that I could have cancer, and that runs in my family. So that was a very scary moment. So we made an appointment to go there. It was pretty anxious having to wait to go to that appointment, but then I met with that doctor at the children's hospital. So, you know, we told her my whole story. She put me on antibiotics, and I think steroids. She was like, we're gonna make an appointment for next week, but if you're feeling better, don't come. This medicine should really help you. And then by the next week, I think I had to go to the ER or something, and then they let her know, and then she ended up calling us and was like, I was up all night, I couldn't figure out like what's wrong with Michaela. I was doing research and I couldn't figure it out, and I think she needs to go see like infectious disease and stuff. Like I think she needs to go back to the ER. Like I think it's something a lot more serious. So because she really thought that the medicine was going to help me. So that was also really scary, just because by then, I mean, I've never had a doctor tell me that they stayed up all night because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And we were freaking out because I didn't know what was going on with me yet. So I remember that time a whole group of doctors came into the room. They all were examining me, doing all these questions. They did more blood work. I mean, just let me tell you, I hate shots. Like, I pass out from them. And I mean, every time I go to the doctor, they have to test my blood, so that was very difficult. But they said the mono was negative again. So they said, they tested me for everything. They tested me for like scary cancer stuff and all those scary things with all my symptoms that I was having. And they said everything's negative. You just have a virus. And I'm like, oh my god. I mean, that's good, but like, it's no answers. So then I went home that night. I spent pretty much the whole day in the ER with all those doctors and tests and yada yada yada. So I actually went back to the ER, I think 2 days later. I can't really remember why. I think it's just because I would get so bad to the point where I'm like, I have to go. Like, it wasn't normal. I felt like my eyes were getting really red. I think it was really weird. Like, they were getting really red. I felt so weak. And actually, at that time in the ER, like, they gave me more fluids. They tested my blood again, yada yada yada. But I couldn't even walk on my own. Like, I had to have someone on both sides of me to help me walk, just to the bathroom or something. And that really freaked me out because I've never had to get help just to walk. Like, that was scary. I mean, that's how weak I was. So I went home, and then the next day the hive started again, which I'm looking, it was March 11th, I think. March 11th, I actually came home from the ER at like 6 in the morning, that previous time that I just said. I took a nap, and then I woke up, and the hives were on my hands and my lips, and I'm like, oh no. They're starting again, because by that time I was off of my steroids. So I knew, like, I have to go back to the ER. I mean, every hour they were spreading. Then they started spreading throughout my face. They started going to my chest, to my stomach. They admitted me again because my throat was closing up again. Because they actually looked in my throat and my tonsils were touching. I think I said that for the previous time that I was admitted. So, like, both times this happened. Which is why people said that they're surprised that I didn't die. I'm looking, and I mean, by that night when I was admitted in the hospital room, I mean, the hives were everywhere. I was on an IV again. They were testing me for everything, and this is when it was really scary, and we got infectious disease involved. They came in. They were wearing like these yellow masks and like yellow stuff all over. Like, I felt like I had to be like in this bubble almost, because I felt like no one could be near me. And I know that they were being really careful, but it was definitely weird and scary. And then I just remember, like, the hives were getting so bad. Like, I would be itching so bad. I'm gonna show you guys a photo of my scratch marks from when the hives went away. I was itching so bad, like, it was crazy. When this was the sickest that I was through the whole sickness. My fever started getting really high, the hives were getting really itchy and really bright red everywhere, and then I started throwing up. Just throwing up is terrible, but also having a fever and being covered in hives with my throat closing up, and like, I was miserable. Like, that was the sickest I've ever been. So anyways, I was in the hospital for about a week. They were testing me for like the craziest stuff ever. I had people coming in, like different doctors and stuff, taking photos of me and my hives, rash, and then I had like it seemed like students almost, because then like someone would like talk to them and explain what was going on, and then they all were like writing down notes, and I felt like a lab rat. Like it was just all these different people coming in. Everyone was calling me the mystery girl because no one could figure out what was going on with me. They didn't know what the hives were from. Every doctor that I've seen has said that these are the worst hives that they've ever seen on anyone. And it was scary. Like, they were testing me for the randomest, weirdest stuff. Like, I have a hamster and they tested me for rat fever. Like, I actually got to take a bath there, and like an oatmeal bath, to kind of calm the hives down. But I mean, I was so sick. They had to do a CT scan and I had to drink the contrast. I had to drink 2 full bottles of the contrast. It took me 8 hours to drink those because that taste was so bad. Every time I drank it, I literally was about to throw up, and if I did that, I have to drink more. So, I mean, it took me like 8 hours to drink it. It was the worst thing ever. I would have preferred to get another IV, even though I hate IVs. So, I mean, that lets you guys know how bad that was. I had to go get the CT scan. I mean, they were doing so many tests like that whole week. I felt like just like a lab rat, and it was scary. Eventually, infectious disease came in, and they were like, we have a positive, and I was so scared because of the stuff that they were testing me for, and they were like, it's mono. You had a positive for mono, and I was like, what? After like seven-ish tests, I finally have a positive. So that's why we were like, well, what was happening from February 1st till the middle of March? What was happening all those weeks? That's why I know it was from the vaccine, even though I was a little sick when I went to go get the vaccine, because I probably just had some random virus. Then I broke out in hives 24 hours later, like come on. Like, it was from the vaccine. And then I think it happened again, but then that time I had mono, and then it was just, that's why it was a lot, I felt like it was a lot worse that second time it was admitted. So anyways, they gave me steroids again, they gave me all this medicine. Finally I started kind of calming down, and by then my counselor was calling us because I was missing so much school, and he was like, you're probably gonna have to do homeschool. And I mean, it was scary, and people were like texting me like, where have you been? What is going on? So I got to go home. I mean, the hives were terrible. I had scratch marks everywhere, but I was getting kind of better. So I think I started trying to go back to school after a few days or so, and I went for like a day or two because again, I just, other than the hives going away, I still wasn't getting better. I was so behind. Like, I was trying to do all my makeup work, but then I'd miss more school, so that I just kind of kept staying like in this behind state. I went back to my doctor a few times just because I still wasn't getting better. I mean, then I had so many different ER trips, but I was admitted for a migraine. It was really bad, and then that was the time when a doctor asked me, they came in, they were like, why are you here? And I'm like, did I admit myself? No. The ER doctor admitted me, but I was like, even though I don't have the hives, you don't know how freaking sick I am. Like, you don't know how much pain I'm in. And he pretty much told me that it was all in my head. And I was like, a doctor had the audacity to tell me that I'm sitting here in this hospital room when I could be at school or going out and having fun. I'm sitting here in this hospital room admitted with an IV in my arm, but it's all in my head. Like, then I had, just ER trips where, I was so sick because, I was so nauseous I could barely eat. Like, I needed to get fluids. Like, they gave me this medicine and like an IV for my migraines, and it made me so sick too. Like, it made me feel woozy. I could barely walk. Like, I didn't know what was going on. The room was like spinning. Like, I've gone through so much stuff. Like, it was crazy. There was another time where I went to the ER. They gave me all this medicine. I still did not feel good at all. Like, I still felt terrible. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable going home. And they were like, we can admit you again for the 4th time. Yeah, no. I'm like, I'm not doing this again because I have pets at home. It's hard because my mom has to go back and forth. And anyways, so we said no, but overall, I ended up having to do homeschool. I had a teacher come to my house, she would go and get my work at my school and then come and teach me it, and then she would go turn in my work back to my school. And I mean, she was so nice. Like, it was very helpful because when I wasn't feeling well, like, I could just let her know, and I wouldn't have to stress about going to school. So I pretty much missed my entire second semester of junior year, which kind of sucked. Like, I missed prom. I missed so much, like, with friends and stuff. I mean, I missed out on a lot. But I had to meet with infectious disease. I had to meet with a rheumatologist. I had to meet with a neurologist. I had to meet with an adolescent medicine doctor. I had to meet with an allergist. I know there's more. Let me tell you that there's more. I know there's more, but I can't remember. Anyways, the neurologist did this test, and she was like, I'm gonna have you test you from laying down to standing up and test, like, my heart rate. And she tested it, and she was like, you have POTS. P-O-T-S. And, I was like, what? Well, because it was funny that, like, a week before or something, we ran into our neighbor, and she was telling us about how she has POTS. So it was just kind of a funny coincidence, but she pretty much told me that I have chronic migraines and POTS. So that's what I've been dealing with now. I think the vaccine stuff is pretty much over. I have been getting some hives around my lips, but I haven't been recently. But after the second time I was admitted and I was covered in hives, after that, I would still get hives on my lips for a few months, just randomly. But I have it for a few weeks, so I think those are stopped. But they tested my blood, the mono's gone, I don't have mono anymore. So, I mean, that's when we were kind of like, well, what do I have then? Why am I still feeling so sick? Why do I still feel terrible? So thankfully the neurologist diagnosed me. So I actually met with my adolescent medicine doctor, and I was like, because he said that he has, like, this really extensive test that he can do for POTS. So he would, when you're laying down and then when you stand up, your heart rate can change within 30 beats, which is normal. So if it changes more than 30 beats, you're considered to have POTS. So he did this test. He was taking my my blood pressure, and, like, he had, like, my little thing on my finger to test my heart rate. I had to lay down for a few minutes, and I had to stand up, and they would test all of that every minute, and I had to stand up for 10 minutes. By the 10th minute, I almost passed out. I was completely pale. I was seeing stars. And mine changed 70 beats, which is very severe. He said I have very severe POTS, as well as the chronic migraines. I think if you search up HPV vaccine and then POTS and or migraines, you'll see that there's a connection where people get POTS after the vaccine or from mono. So, I mean, I don't know if I got it from both or from one or the other, but so I'm supposed to have POTS till my 20s, which freaking sucks because I still feel sick every day. I mean, I have good and bad days. I have to eat a ton of salt, which I know sounds weird, but it makes me feel a lot better when I eat a ton of salt. Like, I kind of get, like, this energy rush. So, like, I had to raise my bed. I had to do a lot. I have to go to physical therapy, like, every week. I'm doing, like, this POTS program where, like, this working out stuff, which helps my blood flow and to hopefully get over my POTS faster, because I don't want to have it to my 20s. I mean, pretty much all my blood, when I'm standing up, a doctor, I think my rheumatologist explained it to me, that when you stand up, normally your veins kind of contract to kind of hold your blood up to your head, which like makes it even throughout your whole body. But my veins kind of just stay loose, so all my blood just goes straight to my feet. So after, like, I'm walking around, like, a grocery store or something, my feet will be, like, bright red, and my face is so pale, and I'm dizzy. That's why I don't really know what the salt does, but when I'm eating a ton of salt, like, that helps with that, where I don't feel that terrible. And also a ton of fluids, and then doing the program, I have to work out and swim and do all that. So I have been busting my butt trying to do all this stuff. The rheumatologist, she opened up to me because the vaccine, with vaccines, doctors they can't say anything bad about them, right? And she was like, you know, I can't be telling you this, but there's been a lot of people coming in being sick after that vaccine. And that was nice to know, like, okay, I'm not the only one, like, having a reaction to it, but I would say it's very risky getting the vaccine, because, I mean, there's cases where kids have died from it, which is very sad. And I'm like, if you're gonna get that vaccine that you could almost die from, like, you're kind of risking that, and I think you can prevent HPV just from getting, like, yearly checkups. So I think it's better to not get the vaccine, but because now, I mean, look at, now I have POTS till my 20s, like, I have to be sick till, like, my 20s, and I don't know how long I'm supposed to have the migraines for. It's just, I mean, it sucks. I went to the chiropractor too, and he did x-rays, because I was having a kink in my back, and I mean, I still do, but he said that my jaw, like, one side was higher than the other. For my hips, one side of my hip was higher than the other, my spine was curved, and my rib was popped out. I was like, my rib. That's what was causing the kink, like the pain in my back. So I'm really glad I went there, and then when we told him my story, he was like in complete shock that I didn't die from my story. Like, when I told him everything and I showed him photos, he was like, you're still alive. You're still here. I mean, the pot sucks. I mean, every day, I mean, I get dizzy after standing, like, from laying down to standing up, I get dizzy, I see stars, I get pale sometimes. There's days where I'm so sick, like, I'm so nauseous. I've lost about almost 20 pounds from this whole sickness. Like, I got so skinny and, like, frail and weak and pale. I mean, I've gained some of it back though, so that's progress. I have been losing so much hair for like 3 months now. So much, like, it's not stopping. Like, this, I mean, this is so thin to me, but I've lost so much. Every time I take a shower, like, it's just handfuls. Like, I just have to go through so much to, like, build my body back up from how sick I was. And I mean, I'm still sick, but I'm not as bad, luckily, though. But that was my crazy story. I mean, I'd say currently it's just having good and bad days. I'm very fatigued. I sleep a lot. After standing for a while, I have to sit down. You know, I can't go to concerts. Like, concerts are one of my favorite things. I can't go there unless I can sit down, because, like, raves, I love raves, and there's no seats, you know, everyone's standing up, and I would totally pass out, like, after an hour of standing. I dance, I can't go and dance. Like, I've really been affected by this, and it freaking sucks. When I get my migraines, I mean, my head will hurt for no joke a week straight. Like, it will not stop. Like, I mean, I'll start to see stuff, like stars. I'll get, like, I can barely walk. Like, it gets so bad that, like, when I hear something or when I see a bright light, it's terrible. I mean, there were times where I was pretty much in a wheelchair because I could barely walk. I'm very proud of myself. I feel very strong from everything I had to go through, and that I'm still going through. I'm trying to just push through this and get over the POTS and hopefully the migraines, and then this will be all in the past, because I'm sick of feeling sick. Almost half a year of feeling pain every day. I've been in pain every day. Something, either in my head or my eyes. Like, one time I woke up, my eye was swollen. Like, it's just so much weird stuff has happened, but I'm not gonna keep rambling on. So that was my story, and I'm glad I finally got to tell you guys about it. I'm gonna try to start to post videos. I mean, again, I have good and bad days. I've been kind of still busy with still, like, doctor appointments and stuff, so I mean, I'll try. I appreciate everyone that's watched this video, spent the time to watch it. I'll be back. I'll try to be back soon, but